Are you ready to start working on part two of the learning exercise together? Let's take a look at it. So part two asks you to begin your research by trying to figure out what the Unruh Civil Rights Act is and how it relates to the cause of action for disability discrimination. And since this area of law is new to you, you decide to start in California jurisprudence. It's a legal encyclopedia. It's a great place to start when you're not familiar with the area of law and you need an introduction. So we're going to be using Westlaw. In a moment, I'm going to switch over to my browser and I will show you how this might look in real time. But since I recorded this video before Westlaw changed its interface, again, you'll notice some things about the interface are different in my live video. So mostly little things like today, you'll probably see Westlaw Advantage at the top of your screen, but the video says Westlaw Precision. And today you might see AI Deep Research taking up an obnoxious amount of your screen, while the video has a slightly more demure AI assisted research box. So you can ignore those interface differences. The things that we're walking through and interacting with should be the same in the video as they are for you right now. Okay, so we're going to do this together. So here we are in Westlaw. We're going to find CalJur, and the quickest way to do that is to type CalJur and then use the suggestion for the content page for California jurisprudence. And here we are. So you went through the exercise of creating some keywords, and perhaps you are used to by now looking through the expanded plus signs. So we can look through and we can see if disability is showing up here, discrimination is showing up here. Seeing neither of those things, I might just throw up my hands and say, well, I've got the name of the act, right? I'm going to be using the, or looking for the Unruh Civil Rights Act to see what that prohibits. So I'm just going to type that in. And am I going to be distracted by these lovely looking distractions here? No, I'm not going to follow these pop-down suggestions. One of them is going to take me to a law review article. Do we use law review articles in this class? No, we do not use them in this class. This one is going to be a treatise on, I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Here's CalJur, which we do want, and actually this might be interesting, but I'm just going to search using the orange search button here. And we're going to see what these keywords get us in the CalJur database. So there's that suggestion that I skipped right over. It's here. It's our first search results. I'm just going to look at the first 3 to 5. That's probably some good practice. So I'm in CalJur Civil Rights, Section 7, Section 14. Section 15. So we're all in the same general area of CalJur, and these all look interesting. So knowing what I know about there being a table of contents for me, I'm going to open this first one, and I'm going to see what's nearby. So waiting for that to open, the table of contents populates. So here I am. I dropped into section 7. The nearby sections are 6 and 8, and both of those look pretty good, as does 7. So I think I'm just going to read sections 6, 7, and 8. 7 is where it took me. It's a pretty brief section. It jumps right down into the footnotes after this. The one that's right next to it is called generally. And when you see generally or nature of, that's usually a good place to start. So I'm actually going to pop over here to section 6 using the table of contents, and I'm going to read the generally section, discrimination in public accommodations under Unruh generally. So here we go. It's well established, states may prohibit discrimination. The Unruh Civil Rights Act serves as a preventative measure. It prohibits discrimination in all places of public accommodation, regardless of, here's our list. This is our answer: sex, race, color, religion, ancestry. The list goes on and on. Persons within the state entitled to full and equal accommodations in establishments of every kind whatsoever. Okay, so there's our answer. The citation to the statute that supports our answer, let's see if we can find that. Here we go. In footnote 2, is that a statute? Absolutely not. Let's see. Footnote 1 talks about the Unruh Civil Rights Act. Footnote 3. I like how Westlaw pops up the footnotes like this so that you can see exactly what's going to be down in the footnotes without having to click down to it. Here's a statute. Okay, California Civil Code. The California is missing, but you add it back in to properly cite this. California Civil Code, Section 51. This looks like a statute. Footnote 4 is exactly where I was just stopping my read. So here we go. Here's our statute, which is answer to 1B. 1C is our research trail. So you would go ahead and fill that in according to the example at the top of your assignment. And then let's jump into question 2. So your supervising attorney told you that the ADA, which is federal law, also applies. So how do UNRRA, the California statute, and ADA, the federal statute, how do those interact? In other words, do they coexist? And if so, how? Does that federal act preempt the California statute? Let's see if this secondary source can provide any of that information for us. So here we are in this generally section, and it's still going. You can see from my browser window, there's still quite a ways to go. So let's see. I'm still reading generally, and I see mention of this federal act that I was looking for. So like that federal act, here's a citation. Footnote 13 goes to that federal act, the U.S. Code. And then like that act, the state act prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability. Beautiful. And then there's a citation to some case law. This is our answer. A violation of the right of any individual under that federal act also constitutes a violation of the state act. That's how they interact. That's our answer. And we've got some citations to the California Code, citations to the federal code. And the question is also, let's see, asking for your research trail. So you can provide that as well. Finally, question 3. It says, now that you know a little bit about this area of law, you're ready to continue your research with a secondary source that contains a little bit more depth than this Encyclopedia Calger. So if you were looking for a jurisdiction-specific, topic-specific treatise to help you with this research that's available here on Westlaw, how would you look for that? And which one would you select to further your research? I want to go through a couple of different ways that we can look for another secondary source, a deeper secondary source on our topic. And my favorite way is to use the secondary sources guide provided by the LLS Law Library. So you get there using services and research guides. And then you scroll down to secondary sources by subject. So hopefully you're familiar with this by looking at the Brightspace content and the lectures so far. But here it's going to be organized by topic, by subject. So our subject is disability law, discrimination, or as we learned by looking at our results in Calger, civil rights might also be our topic. So back here, let's see what we've got. We do have civil rights as a topic in this guide, and we also have disability as a topic in this guide. So we can look at both of those and see if we can find a deeper secondary source available on Westlaw. So first, disability law. I'm clicking into that. This is just a list of sources. You can't search them until you click one, but this is a list of sources available to us here at Loyola. So we've got, this one's available on Westlaw, the ADA manual, Compliance, Practice and Compliance Manual. This one is available on Lexis. I can tell that from the symbol. Disabilities and the Law is on Westlaw, another compliance manual on Westlaw. So these look promising. I might select one of those, but I just wanted to go back and see what we had in the area of civil rights law to see if any of those were available on Westlaw and also looked interesting. So we've got another Lexis resource. This Westlaw one says civil rights and civil liberties litigation, the law of Section 1983. We've got Federal Civil Rights Acts, so that might be interesting. It's available on Westlaw. And then we've got some things that maybe aren't as relevant to us in our topic that we're looking at right now. So that's one way to get to these resources. The other way is to go back to the Westlaw homepage and search Westlaw for secondary sources. So we can go here to the secondary sources tab, and we went jurisdiction specific, topic specific. So I'm actually going to skip past these jurisdictions because I'm looking for California and federal. So I'm going to go into topics. I see civil rights. I don't see disability. So I'm going to go with civil rights. So I click on that. And now I'm going to have far too many. So I want to show you the different ways that you can narrow these down. So the first way to narrow it down is to get the jurisdiction correct. So I don't want Alabama, for example. So I'm going to filter that out by selecting just California, um, California, and federal. So now I'm going to apply those two filters. But I still see some things I don't want. I see law reviews. Do we use those in this class? We do not. So I'm going to filter out the law reviews, publication type, no law reviews. I want encyclopedias and treatises. So I'm going to apply. And here we have all the secondary sources available on Westlaw in our topic, in our jurisdiction, and of the publication type we want. So I can go through here and I can see whether any of these look interesting. I can check a bunch of boxes if I want to search more than one. And we've selected secondary sources. So that's it for this section of the learning exercise. Go ahead and return to Brightspace to view the next lecture videos. I'll see you there.